Let's talk about the prosecutor in the Zachary Hughes case in South Carolina. I think I'm going to like this guy. Hi, folks. Tony DeWitt again with another video on the law. Remember, I don't dispense legal advice here, and this is what we're talking about today. As you all know, I did the Megan Boswell trial last week, and Megan Boswell took up a lot of bandwidth, and as a result, I didn't really look in on the other trials. But one of my subscribers asked me to look at the Zachary Hughes case in South Carolina, and so I thought, I should probably do that. And over the weekend, that's what I did. I watched the opening statement. And I've had a lot of criticism of people during opening statements. Uh, I've had I've had to criticize people for lack of objections. I've had to criticize people for just not having any, passion for what they're doing. I think that was one of the cases in the Florida versus Griffith case. The prosecutor he was kind of bland. Every now and again, you get somebody who really understands what the art of persuasion is and how to go about persuading a jury. And one of the things that I think I am most often guilty of, I try not to be, but I'm most often guilty of, is that when I'm teaching people something about the law, I start from the assumption that everybody knows enough to get the gist of what's going on. But that's not always the case. In what I would consider to be required viewing for every new prosecutor throughout this country, the first few minutes of the state's opening statement in State versus Hughes is worth a watch. And the reason it's worth watching is because he sets up the rest of his opening statement by telling the jurors in eloquent terms, really, what the trial is all about, who's there, what they're doing, and what to expect. Watch this little bit here. I think it is very, very good.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Walt Wilkins, and myself, along with Jake Hofreth, we are the prosecutors in this case. This is Detective Jared Sparkman and Master Deputy Blake Wolf. They're the co-lead investigators in this case. I want to thank you for your service and thank you for giving us the opportunity to present this case to you. The state has the obligation to prove the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. And that's the standard that you're going to hear from the judge. You're going to hear throughout your deliberations and throughout this trial. We have to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. And there's a lot of folks in this courtroom right here that you see. And so we are the prosecution. We represent the state. We have the honor of representing the state in this particular case. The defendant sits over there. That is Zachary Hughes along with his attorneys, and they represent him in this particular case. But there's many more other individuals in this case. We have the court reporter. She's very important. She is taking down everything that we're saying, recorded, so we can have a record of this entire case at its conclusion. And so that's what she'll be doing, and she'll also be marking exhibits. So if you see her over there writing on things, that's what she's doing. She's marking the exhibits in which we will identify things that we will be presenting to you for your review. This is Madam Clerk. She's involved with a lot of paperwork and handles all the evidence that we submit into the court. So she'll be handling all the exhibits that you will get to review upon your deliberation. And of course, we have the judge up here. And if you'll notice, the judge is a pretty important person. He's got a black robe. He gets to sit a little higher than the rest of us. And there's a reason for that, because he is the referee in this case. And he's going to be calling balls and strikes. He's going to be telling us what the law is. And when one of the parties has an objection, he's going to say whether you're right or whether you're wrong. And because there are rules in this courtroom, ladies and gentlemen, the rules are officiated by the judge to make sure that we maintain the rules and decorum in this courtroom and the evidence is presented to you in the proper way. But the most important people in this room, ladies and gentlemen, are you. As the judge said, you're the triers of fact. You decide what the facts are. And the great thing about serving as a juror is that you don't leave your common sense at the door. You get to bring it with you in here. and you get to listen to the testimony that'll come right from this chair right here, and you get to look at the evidence that's presented in your deliberations, and you can see it along the way of how this case progresses. You'll hear different kinds of evidence. So the judge said, you hear direct evidence and circumstantial evidence. They're both very powerful pieces of evidence. They can be used in any way in which you accept them. Direct evidence is simple. It's something that somebody can see, taste, or smell, something that they see. If you see somebody commit a violent crime, that's direct evidence that they saw that person there. Circumstantial evidence can be just as powerful. For example, if you look outside before you go to bed and you see your lawn nice and green, and you wake up and it's covered in snow and there are footprints walking through the snow, well, you know that somebody walked through your yard from the time you went to bed and the time you woke up. You don't know who it is, but you know somebody did because you can see footprints. You can derive information from that to form a logical conclusion.
Now that was just masterful. He gave us what the judge does, what the clerk does, what his partner is going to do at the trial, present witnesses. He talks about the witness chair, where people are going to sit, what they're going to say. And he then talks about the burden of proof, or I guess he did that at the beginning. And then he talked about the difference between direct evidence, where you see something and testify about it, and circumstantial evidence, where a series of facts leads to a conclusion. A lot of times people wait until the end of the trial to put that into the head of the jury. And he'll probably put it back in there again at the end of the trial. But starting at the beginning by letting people know, hey, this is how you can view the evidence. You know, it's okay to question the evidence, but this is how to view the evidence. I think that gives him a tremendous leg up in this particular case, simply because he now has the respect of the jury. He gets to go first. He has the respect of the jury. He tells them what's going to happen. He doesn't put any spin on it that's prosecution favorable. He just gives them the information and asks them to be receptive and to do the job. Another problem I have sometimes seen with prosecutors is the inability to ask one question at a time and to needlessly interrupt a witness when they are testifying. If somebody wants to interrupt the witness while they're testifying, unless they're going down the wrong track, let the defense do it. Because if you let the defense do it, the jury gets angry at them for not being able to get the full story. So, this is a classic example of a prosecutor who knows how to examine a witness. And you'll notice at the end, he stops the witness. And there are reasons for that too. But let's watch this little vignette here of him letting the witness tell the story.
Please state your name for the record.
Chris Robinson,
With whom are you employed?
Greenville County Sheriff's Office,
What is your current rank?
Master Deputy.
The Master Deputy. And what do you do for the Greenville County Sheriff's Office?
Currently on uniform patrol.
And what does that entail?
Answer your day-to-day calls, 911 calls.
How long have you been with the department?
10 years.
I'm going to refer you back to October 13th of 2021. Do you remember getting a call to the Canebrake neighborhood?
I do.
Okay. How did you get that call?
It was just a call for service at the time. Someone called 911 and I responded to that address.
Where were you located when you got that call?
Pelham Road at the QT.
How far away is that to the Canebrake?
A couple miles, maybe.
How long did it take you to get there?
Just a few minutes.
Now, did you go with your blue lights on, or did you go?
Absolutely. Just for the nature of the call, yeah, we responded lights and siren.
So, what address did you arrive to? Do you remember?
I'm not 100% the
122 Canebrake?
That would be it, yes, sir.
And so, what happened when you got there?
So once I arrived on scene, I made contact with the complainant, Mr. Post. He was standing in the driveway. I was kind of briefly spoke to him, trying to figure out kind of what was going on. He told me that he arrived home or arrived to the victim's address when she wasn't answering her phone. So he said he went in the back door, was unlocked, and that's where he located her. So at that point, another deputy arrived on scene. So we decided to go in there and clear. We went in the back door. He said it was unlocked. They always leave it unlocked, so that's the way we made entry. Went inside immediately. As soon as we got inside, immediately smelled some kind of chemical odor. It was kind of unusual. We weren't 100% sure what it was. I could never figure it out, but we cleared the residence. I located Miss Parcell in the living room. There was blood all over the floor. Looked like there was drag marks on the floor where she was had been drugged by her feet or drugged somehow. She had multiple lacerations around her upper, her face, her neck area.
I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to take it back a little bit now.
Now, obviously, this deputy has testified before, and he knows what the game is, but he answers the questions, and then he narrates a fairly substantial part about finding the decedent's body. And then the prosecutor stops him because he wants to go back and talk about the cars that were parked there. Now, that may seem to be an unimportant detail, and why would you stop it when he was just getting to the good part? Well, the reason why you stop it is because he is using this witness to lay a foundation for the admission of evidence coming in from other witnesses. In other words, he's going to talk about what they found at the crime scene, like crime scene texts and that sort of thing. So it's really helpful to let the first arriving officer, say what was found at the scene in terms of automobiles and other things through putting him on first and laying out the foundation for all of those other things that will follow. So that then he doesn't have to bore the jury with asking a witness, now, when you got there, you saw a white car, right? Yes. And it was a Mercedes, right? Yes. And then taking it on through that way. It's a way to be more efficient at trial without getting in the way of the information that's coming in. A lot of times, lawyers forget that they are essentially performance artists and they have one audience, and that audience is the jury that's sitting in the jury box back there. And if you don't perform for the jury, they aren't going to perform for you. This guy seems to get it. It's been really a good thing to see in this case that the prosecutor is not only passionate, but he knows how to develop a case. I think we're going to see that this is going to be an important case to follow. I know we're about 4 days behind on it, but I will try to get some video put together about this case. Many of you probably already know that this is a veterinarian who was killed by somebody, and there are relationships. It's kind of a messy deal with three-way problems going on. So we'll get to that in due course, but I did feel like it was really important to sort of point out the good things the prosecutor has been doing in this case so far. If you have any questions, feel free, as always, to drop them in the comments or send them to me in email. Otherwise, thank you for being here, and catch me down here again tomorrow. Thanks for watching my video. If you have a request for me to cover a topic, please send me an email to the address above, and in the subject line put video request. If you have comments, drop them in the comments down below. If you found the content worthy, please consider subscribing. Since I started doing this work, I have always asked listeners to consider doing just one kind thing every day to make somebody else smile or make their life better in some way. Please consider doing that. It makes the world a better place. Now, YouTube has some suggestions for other videos of mine you may find interesting.